Hello and welcome to my brief guide to large print resources for libraries. So what are large print resources? The ALA Glossary of Library and Information Science defines large print as any type size over 16 point used in books, periodicals, or other printed publications for the visually impaired or for beginning readers. The scope of large print is as broad as that of any printed material and can include fiction in any and all genres, nonfiction on any subject, reference materials and textbooks, maps and atlases, religious texts, games and puzzles, things like cookbooks, music, basically anything else you can think of. Even picture books are often large text, though we don't usually think of them as belonging to this format. But there are some challenges, because even though the scope may be broad, the selection might not be. Large print publishers often focus on bestsellers, so less popular items might not be readily available. There are some options for having books printed on demand, but in order to be effective, these must adhere to certain standards. Because simply printing a book in large typeface doesn't make it an effective tool for people with print disabilities or low vision. Organizations like the CNIB and the National Association for the Visually Handicapped in the U.S. have set rigorous standards for large print materials. These include guidelines for the typeface, the color and texture of the paper, page orientation, all kinds of things. But according to the American Council of the Blind, these 4 characteristics have the greatest effect on the readability of large print documents. We need to think about those when we're purchasing them. So line spacing, font size, color contrast between the background and text, and the font style, some of which are more readable than others. So who is reading large print? If we look at this picture, we might automatically assume that the older woman is our most likely audience. And it's true that of the 500,000 Canadians with vision loss, the leading cause is age-related macular degeneration. But people of all ages can experience low vision. And large print has been proven useful also for people with learning disabilities like dyslexia, and for children and youth who are struggling or reluctant readers, because large print can be an effective transition from picture books to middle grade and YA books. Several sources suggested that large print resources are also useful for language learners. And one library website even suggested that they're great for reading when you're running on a treadmill. So the audience may be broader than we think. And if you're asking why should my library include large print, well, essentially, for all types of libraries, it comes down to the fundamental human right of access to information. The IFLA Manifesto for Libraries Serving Persons with a Print Disability recommends that all library and information providers, as part of their core services, put in place services, collections, equipment, and facilities which will assist users with print disability to access and use resources that meet their particular needs for information. For public libraries, the CFLA guidelines on library and information services for people with disabilities say that libraries have a fundamental responsibility to serve everyone in the community. And public libraries need to give priority to providing alternative format collections. Of all the types of libraries, public libraries probably fill the greatest demand for large print, both in the library and through outreach programming to places like seniors facilities and nursing homes. In academic libraries, research shows that university students with visual impairments need both print and electronic resources in appropriate formats in order to complete research and do coursework. But there's also a shortage of large print resources in university libraries, so this should perhaps be addressed. And school libraries can provide large print resources for students with low vision, with learning disabilities, as well as those reluctant readers that we talked about earlier. Large print might not always be the best choice for every student, but it should be a choice for those who need it. There are, of course, new technologies such as DAISY and e-readers with adjustable font, and that they have opened the door to reading for many people with visual or print disabilities. But as is the case with readers of all abilities, some people simply prefer to read print books. When it comes to selecting large print resources for the library, it's important to consider the needs of your patrons, as well as how the materials meet the accessibility standards we outlined earlier. One of the challenges of selecting large print books is the fact that not all are of sufficient quality to be useful to their intended audience. The Library of Congress National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, the NLS Reference Guide, offers some really good selection resources. It's also helpful to seek out book reviews specific to large print, but those are hard to come by. The one site that I did find, largeprintbookreviews.com, wasn't particularly well designed, probably not even accessible to people with low vision, nor was it very current. There are some reviews, of course, on sites like Amazon and Chapters. And there is a directory of large print books and serials, but the last edition was 2013, and I'm not sure whether or not it will be reissued. I'll just close with some suggestions, though, for where to purchase large print books in Canada. Again, both Amazon and Chapters have quite good selections. AbeBooks is another good source. But for large print-specific publishing, Thorndike Books, Random House Large Print, and the Canadian branch of Overscroft Large Print seem to be the best suppliers of the format. Thorndike, for example, offers customizable standing order plans for libraries. And of course, there are many, many more American and international sources, and some of them you can actually find in that NLS reference guide that I already talked about. So thanks very much for listening, and for a longer list of references and resources, please refer to the accompanying resource guide.